Yo, what's going on guys? Josh here, back with another gimbal tutorial. Today we're going to be looking again at the Weebill 2. Don't worry if you have the DJI gimbals or any other gimbals. This concept that I'm going to show you in today's video is going to work with any other gimbal on the market today. Today we're going to be focused on the PF or pan follow mode. Now this mode is really important because this is the mode that you're most likely going to be shooting in most of the time, simply because it produces some of the most stable shots, especially if we're talking about those beautiful orbit shots, of which I will show you today. And we're back at one of my favorite locations here at this park. We have a lot of trees and we're going to use the trees as subject to shoot today. And this is really important when we're talking about orbit shots because we need to make sure that everything is centered and consistent with speed and framing. All right, so now we're looking at the profile view of the Weebill 2 gimbal with my Sony A9 and a Sigma 24-70 lens. If you haven't watched the video that I made previous to this one regarding gimbal shooting modes, I'm gonna link it up in the cards right here. So make sure you check that out because I teach you how to properly hold the gimbal and even walk with the gimbal. So I'm gonna start off by grabbing it, dominant hand on top, non-dominant on the bottom. And we are going to start off in PF or pan follow mode since that's the topic of today's video. All right, so really quick guys, for those of you who don't know what pan follow mode is, it's basically the pan motor that's doing all the work. All right, tilt isn't working and the roll isn't working. The camera stays level on those axes. However, on the pan motor, you'll notice that the camera moves with my body. That is pan follow. Panning and following. Pan follow. Really important when you're focusing on orbit shots, guys, you are going to want to have your grid lines turned on in your camera because these grid lines are going to help you keep your framing accurate. Turn on either your grid lines or your center mark. All right, so right now I'm just getting used to the gimbal. I want to see how smooth the pans are. Now, if you haven't watched my best gimbal tutorial settings or my best gimbal settings tutorial video, check out this card right here because it's going to show you how to adjust the motor torque settings and the smoothness in order for you to get the smoothest panning and tilt shots. All right, so right here I'm not too happy with how sensitive my pan is, so I'm going to go ahead and adjust it. Gonna go into the settings and I'll be right back with you guys. All right, everyone, so now we are back. I've adjusted my smoothness and my motor torque settings. Now I have the tree centered up. Now I'm just gonna be tracking it and using the crisscross walking technique, something that I always preach in a lot of my gimbal training videos. And this is how we're gonna keep everything nice and stable and centered. Now, give me a little bit of a break because we are on a lot of uneven ground here, so I might be a little bit bumpy, but eventually I'm gonna get the shot so well down, so well rehearsed, you're not gonna really tell. Again, this is practicing not only for you, but for me because I am not really great on unstable ground to be doing orbit shots. But eventually, we're gonna get it down. Again, keeping the tree consistently in the center of the screen, of the frame, and you also want to keep the speed consistent as well. All right, so to be honest, guys, I just looked back at the footage that I just took, and it looks like shit. So we're gonna give it another shot. Again, you and I are learning and practicing. I'm actually more practicing, right? This is unstable ground. Just have a look at this. I mean, there's like little holes from gophers and stuff like that. There's animals in the way. So we're gonna try again. All right, we're gonna try again, and then we're gonna start adding some more complicated movements to this shot. So again, this is why you show up to your shoots early, so you get the shots rehearsed. And yeah, I mean, rehearsals are very important. So there's no way you can always lock down the shot in one take. You can sometimes, but not always. So the trick here is, guys, now we're creating a consistent orbit, and that's simply because I am not turning the gimbal with my wrist. Instead, I'm trying to use my whole body to help turn the gimbal, and that's how we're creating this consistent orbit pan that you see right here with minimal jitter, if any. To make things even smoother, by the way, this would be way easier if I wasn't talking, but what fun would that be if it was too easy? To make things even smoother, guys, shoot at wide angle lenses or wide angle focal lengths. That'll make things smoother, and slow it down. Shoot at higher frame rates. You're gonna get a consistent orbit with enough spins or enough turns around the tree. a tree is a perfect subject for you. It's always there, it never backsasses you, and guess what? It's always free. You never have to pay this tree anything. Now we're gonna spice things up. I'm gonna point the lens up. And we're gonna start doing a circular orbit. Let me lower the exposure here. Not recommended to point your lens at the sun, but given the circumstances, we'll do it for only a few moments. Okay? These types of shots are always more of my favorite, especially when you're showcasing a tree. Now check this out. This is actually easier to shoot because the center of gravity is changing when the camera is pointed up. So if you notice, my consistency in my orbit is way smoother than it was when the camera was just pointed straight. This all has to do with the weight distribution. So sometimes a vest will help benefit you to create more accurate orbit shots because it takes away a lot of that weight distribution, or it makes it a lot more even, I should say. See? Beautiful, consistent orbit with the tree remaining in the center of the frame. No jitters, no weird gimbal bounce. It's coming out really nice. And even with enough practice, with the camera pointed straight, you'll get very similar results. But this one right here, I can tell you right now, is way easier to shoot with the camera pointed up. Now, if you want to make your life more challenging and you really want to practice on your stabilization skills while you're orbiting, you know what you got to do. Zoom in and give this a shot and see how good your orbits come out. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be jittery in the beginning, and you're going to have to move way slower, guys. I mean, even for me, it's difficult at 70 millimeter to create a smooth orbit. And by the way, it's a lot better if you shoot at a higher frame rate, because as you can see right now, my panning is not as consistent as I would like. Also, walking on uneven ground makes life a nightmare. Which is why, guys, I recommend you get yourself an EV or an electric vehicle like this. Because the only reason why I'm not using it in today's video, guys, is because I know most of you don't have this type of technology, or maybe you do, but you just don't know how to use it with your camera gear. But I know that this is a niche product, but I would recommend something like this because people in Hollywood or any production studio, they know the benefits of using an EV like this, one wheel or whatever, a Segway, doesn't really matter. But if you know how to ride one and shoot at the same time, that triples, quadruples, 5 times your worth in the industry. I promise you. It's not that professional if you show up with a, at a wedding with this, but if you're doing like a short film or anything like that, trust me, an EV is going to benefit you. And it's going to actually make your orbit shots way more accurate, believe it or not. Now, a huge thing that I preach in my video, guys, sorry about the weird 360 angle. By the way, let me know if you like these types of tutorials. I think it's better than hiring another camera person because, well, 1, it's cheaper for me. 2, I don't have to depend on anybody. And 3, I think it's more of a POV experience. So let me know what you guys think. But anyway, regardless, while I orbit this tree, I want you to guys focus on my legs and how I use the crisscross technique, because this is so overlooked. People don't think that how you walk really matters, believe it or not. But look, I'm using the crisscross technique. Just look at my legs, look at my knees, and look at what's happening to the footage. It's coming out so smooth and stable simply because I'm locking the tree in the center of the frame and I'm using the crisscross technique. If I was just walking like this, not really caring about what I'm doing, look at how different, even if I go slow, look at how different the shot comes out. It just comes out pretty careless, all right? And again, I do recommend watching my gimbal settings tutorial video because that helps a lot with creating smooth pans, smooth orbits, and overall smoother shots. Another thing I also want to add, guys, is that if you have the Weebill 2 and you have this extension arm, use it. It's better than holding it here at times because this grip right here can tire you out more easily. This one, you can bring closer to your body. Okay, let me extend the camera. You can bring it closer to your body. You need to be solid as a rock. Solid as a rock, guys. One of my favorite quotes. And you will get much smoother pans, much smoother movements in general. Just bring it close. And this grip allows you to do that. And notice how I gently tilt the gimbal. I don't bring it upright like this because again, the center of gravity changes and it makes it more difficult. There's a subtle tilt. So even though I know these videos aren't the longest or the most crazy detailed, the whole series as a whole is really gonna make your life understand gimbals. It's gonna help you understand the balance and stability of life, right? Because without stability, what do we have? We have nothing. And gimbals work off of stability. So you should also know how to properly balance your gimbal. And of course, I have a tutorial on that right here. So make sure you check that out. Make sure that you rewatch this video multiple times. That's why it's not too long, because I want you to really absorb everything that I'm putting in this series. The last video was about 8 minutes. I don't know how long this video is going to be, probably about 8 minutes as well. But however long it is, I'm trying to make it as concise and easy to follow as possible. So if you have any critiques, if you want me to go into more detail or make these videos longer, please let me know in the comment section below. We're gonna have a bunch more videos coming to this series, so stay tuned, make sure you're subscribed with those notifications turned on, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay stable.